Hey guys, as we continue our study in Unit 7, I want to remind you back in Unit 6, we spent some time factoring quadratic equations. And I told you that this was going to come back and that it would be something important as we went through the rest of the year. So what we're going to today, we're going to use those factors. We're going to factor again, just like we did in Unit 6, but now we're going to use those factors to find solutions for these quadratic equations. Now, there can be three different possibilities when finding solutions for quadratic equations. One could be that you have two solutions, because if you have a parabola and it crosses over the x-axis, it can cross over two times. In fact, if you look at this middle picture, you can see these two solutions would be where it crosses over. You can have one solution. If you look at the very first one, you can see where it's crossing over the x-axis, or it doesn't have to cross over it. It just merely needs to touch it. So you could have just one solution. And then you can have a quadratic that has no solutions, as in the third example here. You can see the parabola is just kind of floating around up there. So there's no solution. So what we're going to do is we're going to be factoring quadratic equations, and then we're going to be determining how many solutions there are and what those solutions are. So let's get started. So again, first, as you can see in these steps, is if there's a GCF that you want to factor out a GCF. And when I look at 4x squared minus 3x, they both have x's. So I'm going to factor that x out first. And then I'm left with 4x minus 3. Okay, so I have two factors here. I have the x and I have the 4x minus 3. So this one, I'm going to set them both to zeros. And I'll explain a little bit more about setting them to zeros in just a moment. The first one, x is 0, is solved, so 0 is one of the solutions. And the second one, I'm just going to solve it like a two-step equation. I'm going to put plus 3, 4x equals 3. We're going to divide both sides by the 4. X equals 3 over 4. So my two solutions are going to be 0 and 3 over 4, and I'm going to write those as ordered pairs. So we have two solutions, and it's going to be 0, 0, and 3 over 4, 0. Because remember, the x's, that's the x of an ordered pair. Okay, and then the y is 0 because when you are crossing over the x-axis, y is always 0. So let's go. We're going to go ahead and skip number 2 for time. We're going to go look at the next one. Now, quadratic equations, we usually have this set to, it usually will say something like f of x equals x squared plus 6x plus 8. You might see that. Or you might see it written as y equals. So again, I'm going to go ahead and keep that up there, okay? So we're just going to keep that up there for just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and work this one out. And let's see. If you remember, A is 1, B is 6, C is 8. There wasn't anything to factor out. There wasn't a greatest common factor. So now I'm going to do A times C, which is 1 times 8, which is 8. And then we're going to do factors of 8. Try to find factors of 8 that add up to 6. I mean, I see it right away, actually. 4 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to write, again, last step. I'm going to divide the 4 and the 2 by A. A is 1, so it's going to look like this. Remembering this? Okay, bottoms up. So I end up with x plus 4, x plus 2. So now I have my two factors. Now I'm going to set them to 0. What does that mean when I say set? Why do I do that? Because if you remember up here, this is y. So if y is 0, then x is the part of the ordered pair that crosses over the x-axis. So if I put this to 0, if y is 0, x plus 2 is 0. If y is 0, what will x be? Minus 4, minus 4. X is negative 4, minus 2, minus 2. X is negative 2. So again, I have two solutions here. So one of them is going to be kind of running out of space here. I have negative 4, 0, negative 2, 0. Two solutions. Now, I'm going to tell you a huge mistake that some of you are going to make as you proceed through this whole thing. You're going to get to where you factor, and then you're going to stop. You're going to say 4 is a solution, 2 is a solution. You're going to forget to set it to 0. Try to remember it must be set to 0, and then you solve for x to get the solution. If I look at the next one here, I see a perfect square here. Remember that? X times x. I see a perfect square here. 6 times 6. And then I'm going to see if it works out in the middle. 2ab. So that'd be 2 times x times b is 6, which is 12x. So what do I know from that? I know that it's going to be x plus 6, x plus 6. Another way that we wrote that was x plus 6 squared. I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this. Now watch what happens on this one, because it looks like there's two solutions, right? Because I have two factors. But if, wait, jump the gun here. If I solve both of these, minus 6, minus 6, minus 6, minus 6. As you can quickly see, my x's are the same. So what that means is there's only one solution. Because hopefully you can just tell you, you can't cross it twice. So I have negative 6, 0 as my solution. All right, moving on here. If we look at the next one here, you can see that there is a greatest common factor on this one. So for the next one, the greatest common factor is going to be 2. 2, 2, 2. So I have 2, and then I have x squared minus 2x minus 15. So I'm going to go ahead and factor this out. And so let's see. A times c is 1 times negative 15, which is negative 15. And then I need to think of factors that will add up to the negative 2. Let's see. The very first thing I think of is 5 and 3. So now you have to think, where is a negative going to be? Is it going to be a negative 5 or a negative 3? Well, I want my answer to be a negative 2. So I'm going to put the negative right here in front of the 5. Now, I divide the negative 5 and the negative 3 by a, and a is 1. I'm going to the one that I factored out. Don't look at the original one. In fact, let me cross that out. We look at the new one. So divide by 1, divide by 1. This becomes x minus 5, x plus 3. There are my factors. Now I'm going to set both of them to 0. X minus 5 is 0. X plus 3 is 0. Plus 5 plus 5 minus 3 minus 3. Now you might be asking yourself at this point, what about the 2? Guess what? we get to just throw it out, okay? The 2 right here, this 2 right here is not a solution. We're just going to throw it out because remember, I can't have 3 solutions. And so you just get to throw it out. So my answers here are, I have 5, 0, and negative 3, 0. Those are my solutions. Bam. Okay, moving on. Let's look at this word problem. Ooh, so fun. A construction company is planning to pour concrete for a driveway. The length of the driveway is 16 feet longer than the width. Oh my gosh. So the length, if I take 16 feet and I add it to the width, I get the length. I think you got to think about that because we've been doing this a few times. So that's how that goes. Now, also, we want to know an expression for area. And if you remember, that would be length times width. So let's look at this. I have area. The length is W plus 16. The width is just the width. Okay, track with me here. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this back through. And so I have the area equals W squared plus 16W. Now, watch this. They tell me that the area is 260 square feet, and I need to find what the length and the width is. So I'm going to put 260 right here. And I need to make this a quadratic. So we're going to move that 260 over. And now I have my equation. It's there. I'm going to just go ahead and put that 0 there. W squared plus 16W minus 260. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I want to go ahead and just speed the things up a little bit. But the factors end up being of negative 260. It's going to be a negative 10 and a positive 26. So we have x minus 10, x plus 26. So I'm going to set this to, oh, and let me take it back here. I put x, it should be a w, a w, a w, a w. W minus 10 equals 0, so that's going to be a plus 10, plus 10. So we have w equals 10. Now you're probably wondering, well, wait a second here. I have 2 w's. How can I have 2 w's? Well, that's because you can't. Now think about it. Can the width be a negative number? It can't be a negative number. So this is out. I only need the 1. Okay, I have the width. We're not done. I have to find the length. So I'm going to go back to my original L equals W plus 16, and I'm going to put a 10 in there. So now L equals 26. So I now know that the length is 26 and the width is 10. Boom, boom, boom. We're done. Good luck on the assignment.